Hello, my name is Hudson Waddles. I am a sophomore at Eau Claire University, Wisconsin, and this semester I'm traveling abroad in and studying abroad in Japan at Kansai Gaidai, and this is my somewhat daily record of all the things that I've done. Maybe I can inspire someone to travel abroad. Hi, today was second day of class, first day of my culinary arts class, Japanese cuisine, and my heroes, my monsters and ghosts and making of modern Japan. Both of them were super awesome. Genuinely, really awesome classes. The professors for both of them are super well spoken, very articulate, both clearly passionate about what they do and not just regurgitating information. Um, the culinary arts professor is genuinely a chef and referred to himself as a chef and said, I prefer being called chef from being in the kitchen for about 25 years. And has also gone to culinary school, has gone to hospitality school, and his education that he mentioned being, first of all, very different, but second of all, also very thorough. So I'm actually really excited to see what he's got in store. I do have a syllabus, however, I haven't looked at it since this morning. So Um, but that was my first class about 10 and 10:45. Yeah, so almost 11 a.m. And first thing that he started talking to us was about a little bit about himself, kind of dissecting how the class is going to go. It's not as much cooking as I imagined in the beginning, which is a little unfortunate, but he will be giving us textbooks that we will be using. Not we don't have to purchase them, but they will have recipes inside. And it's a lot more of technique. It's a lot more kind of how culture influenced food and vice versa. It's how everything comes together to make food. It's just like the process as a kind of taking a step back and observing the process as it grows and happens. And in the second half of the semester is when we're going to start being in the kitchen. So the entirety of the semester, we have the fortune of actually being able to taste some of these things, and he'll have guest speakers come in and talk to us about food and let us try food and just kind of experience the class as a whole. And he said it's made for foreigners, and there are only, I believe, two actually native Japanese citizens, and one of them didn't even grow up in Japan. So that's kind of cool. His fiance, as he mentioned, was like a 40-year-old man, so he's not old at all. His fiance is, as he mentioned, a sake samurai, who is someone who goes around the world and actually kind of produces and effectively effectively manifests sake culture around the world. And she's someone that has tasted a lot, she's tried a lot, she's made some, she has connections all over the world with people who make sake, which is rice wine, and just generally promote the business and culture on its own, which is super cool and kind of fitting. You got the food and you got the drink. It's a good pairing. um, but he seems like a super nice guy, and he answered every question. He took every question in stride. There were a couple of uncomfortable questions from one of the classmates, which I don't even know how it was brought up in the first place. Like, it's not something you bring up in a cooking class, but he took it in stride, handled it really well. And another member of the class actually suggested uh, and asked if there was a day that we could get in the kitchen and then make our own dishes and like kind of share culturally. There was actually a very diverse class. There was Chinese kids. There was a Swiss gentleman. There was an Iceland girl. There was uh, Mexico, there was Sweden, a lot of U.S. citizens, but all of them, and then there's like two Japanese, and then the professor himself was American as well. So, and he said that was a marvelous idea, and this would be like one of the first times in his career that he's been able to do something like that, and he might be able to have the opportunity to share and kind of like cultivate that mindset in his classroom, which I thought was super cool. So I might be a guinea pig for a new cooking kind of class environment, which I am totally okay with. If I get to try food from around the world, yes, please. As long as I have a nap afterwards, we'll be all right. Um, Speaking of afterward, the class ended. It's about 90-minute class. Uh, I realized that I sat in the poor spot, so taking notes might be a little difficult, but I'll figure it out. I don't know how class is going to be structured at all. I don't know how he's going to. Pardon me. Oh, more tired than I thought. I don't know how I was going to lecture. I really don't. In the way that he was talking stuff today, we were getting information in a way that didn't feel like getting information. Like doesn't feel like we were getting lectured at, but still like we felt like we were learning a lot. So at least from my end, so that was pretty cool. Afterward, I met with a friend of mine and walked to find lunch because all the talk about food around noon and I hadn't eaten breakfast really got me hungry. So we went and explored two convenience stores. One was Lawson, one was at Welkia, close to campus. First thing we bought was kind of like a little pre-made, prepackaged, what looked like a hamburger. And it wasn't bad. It wasn't. It was more like room temperature, so it was more like preservative. It was probably closer to jerky than I care to admit, but it wasn't terrible. In a pinch, it would work. But we actually also walked down to Lawson and eventually back home to UE. And I got another onigiri, which I did not share on Snapchat as I usually do. I've tried like three so far. I put them all on a reel. So other than that, I didn't do it this time because everyone was asleep, so I didn't see any point to it. But I was also really hungry, so that too. Well, this one was pretty good. I've gotten basically I'm a pro at opening onigiri packages now. There's three pieces of plastic you need to worry about, right? It's a little triangle, a little rice ball, tear off a strip that goes around the pyramid, and then take off the section that like unfolds like a piece of paper. Grab the seaweed and rice together and peel off the other edge, and it all comes out neat. You don't have to like unfold it like a piece of origami. It just comes out, and it's ready to eat once you disassemble it the right way. So this one was chicken and spiced something, but actually the seaweed tasted good too. I didn't expect that. It was like spicy. So, and then I got a coffee, pre-made cold iced coffee, which was not bad. And then I also bought a pudding, a little pudding cup, which I've had a better one. So I will not be getting that one again next time, but I've had better ones before, which are quite tasty. That was my lunch. I hung out here. I did my Japanese homework for tomorrow, which I felt really proud of because I actually understood and I knew where things are coming from and I could recognize a couple of symbols. So I got that going for me. I'm getting somewhere in at least the written section of it. I can identify some sounds. And in that process, I made the mistake of getting the Japanese keyboard on my phone. I have no idea how it works. I really don't. I need someone to show me how it's done because it's driving me nuts. I had a keyboard on my laptop popped up on the screen, just like see if there are any. I can't find like any rhyme or reason to how it's laid out on my phone, so I'll have to have someone tell me how to do it. But after that, I walked back to the Nakamiya campus, and it was in the building, was it? It was building three. It was in the cultural building I was in for my academic advisor meeting. And the first when I walked in, the big guy at the front seemed pretty intimidating. So I was a little unnerved and vaguely concerned to see if he was going to be like a drill sergeant kind of class. But then I realized when he started talking and what class I was in a class about monsters. There's really no way that a drill sergeant is going to be in a class about monsters and myth. And so it turns out we have this big Santa Claus nerd at the front who's super awesome and just talks about monsters. He even in his beginning lecture, as he introduced himself, he starts talking about Pokemon. Come on, how lucky could I get to taste food and then talk about Pokemon the same day? The Tuesdays and Thursdays are going to be awesome. Genuinely awesome. But this guy starts going on and on about how uh, he had an encounter. He doesn't believe in the supernatural, but he had an encounter that he just couldn't explain, which involved a really really hot pizza, walking away for a little bit, coming back, and there's a bite missing. Ever since that, his family's made fun of him for the pizza ghost. So then he started telling us how, and the more and more started talking, I realized what kind of class it was. It was more of like a sociological aspect, which I thought was super interesting. And it's how like monsters are kind of a way to excuse our behavior and demonize other behaviors. So you have like Jason, who was killing kids who were doing the devil's tango while smoking marijuana, which is at that time period before marriage was definitely not allowed. So he was punishing those performing that act. And then you have Godzilla, which is a reaction post World War II of a giant lizard or a giant something that could cause catastrophe at a city size kind of damage radius, something to do with radiation in Japan specifically. So you got Japan, destruction, radiation after World War II. You could kind of get what the thing was. It was a reaction because America controlled, after the result of World War II, America controlled some part of Japanese media, which I learned in that class today. Is America controlled Japanese media, and you couldn't kind of backtalk the American government, or especially the decision to drop the sun twice. Not to mention the other 70 cities that we firebombed. But um, but Godzilla was the way that to talk about it, and like kind of like that suppressed kind of reaction to just get it out there, to just address the skyscraper elephant in the room. What that well, that was either the bomb or the lizard. You tell me. So it was cool to see how. And I've actually taken a Heroes and Monsters course in high school. I took a Heroes and Monsters course where we delved into Beowulf. We went into Greek heroes, so stuff like that. And it's actually really interesting. I watched Hercules. So this is a more sociological aspect of the kind of the same thing, but from a Japanese perspective. So we get to see how their folklore impacted how they grew up, how they taught their children. We have like a boogeyman, except in this case we have a turtle frog little monster who's super cute on paper, but he eats kids. The kappa, whatever. But little turtle frog guy who likes to eat kids. Stay away from the water, apparently. So how you choose to scare your children is your idea, apparently. But he introduced himself. He started talking about yokai. Apparently, there's 8 million different yokai, which are spirits. Not necessarily all negative spirits, but not the best either. They're we call not yokai, which would be the good and more benevolent. Instead of malevolent, they are called kami, which can be translated loosely close to God or a god in a more of a giving manner than a negative kind of connotation. So, yeah, super excited about both of those classes, and the French girl that I made friends with is in there too. I started talking about how monsters, and that led to anime discussion, and I need to finish Haikyuu. That's what that comes down to. I need to finish Haikyuu. But yeah, super excited about how today went. Super, super excited. Um, Genuinely a very good day. I'm not dropping any class today, so. And then I have tomorrow. I have Japanese 1 at the Nakamiya campus instead of Kotanyama, which I think is interesting while we're changing rooms. But whatever, I'm not in charge. Maybe I should be. Probably not. We're building 3. Building 3 gotta be at 9 a.m. So I gotta figure out breakfast. Um, and then I have nothing else tomorrow because I dropped the medieval history. And with that in mind, that also means that I have my kendo thing tomorrow. I'll be joining a kendo club, and that meeting is tomorrow around 6 or 7 o'clock. I can't remember which. I really think it's 6 o'clock, but I could be wrong. Um, yeah, super excited for that. Walk over half hour before so I can get there on time. Have exercise clothes, and I'll be ready to do some kendo, I guess, because that's an option that I have now, which is mind-boggling and rad. So if I get a big head from this, you'll know why. It's because I get to whack people with a bamboo stick. Any kid's dream. Really, any kid's dream. Just eat whatever they want. Talk about video games and monsters, and then get a nice stick and just start beating them. Pants off anyone who looks at you sideways. I should never be allowed to have a real sword, but I have the internet and a job, so or I had a job. But I want a sword. I want a real katana. I wonder how hard it would be to get a good katana. I gotta get ready for bed. I can't think about these things. Not now. I'm gonna get in trouble. But anyway, that's gonna be all for today. Um, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for listening. Thanks for hanging out with me on this crazy, crazy thing that came to fruition. This is an idea about a year ago, so the fact that it actually happened is super awesome. So thanks for yeah, thanks for being a part of it with me. I'll see you tomorrow with more news on Kendo, I suppose. So see you tomorrow. Arigato.